Hey friends, Alan Lee here with Honestly Handyman Services. Some of you guys may know me from my online courses, but those of you who don't, welcome, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about how to log and keep track of all your income and expenses as a handyman. Now it's very important to be very detailed when you're doing this kind of work because this work will literally make or break your handyman business. So it's very important to keep very good documentation on both your income and your expenses. So I'm going to take you guys into my computer right now and show you guys exactly how I keep track of my income and my expenses. So let's first jump into the computer here and let's start with income. So this is basically my computer screen. So first we're going to be starting with income. So this is what I have as just a mock-up sheet. This isn't actual real numbers, but this is how I do things. So if you see here, over here, I got, simple basic layout. Everything I do is in Google Drive. I absolutely love Google Drive. It's my favorite thing. So everything's optimized Google. So I just got client, laborer, notes, date, and then my employee's time, my time, gross income, and then paid. This would be, either the check or the credit cards. So this is kind of how I keep track of my income. So as you can see here, this is how many hours are on it. This is the date. Those are the names and things like that. Obviously made up names, gross income, and then how they paid us. And this all transmits and is all set up via formula down here to be tracked in our total income, expenses, and then net profit, profit margin, and then ministry. We always give 10% of our profit to ministry every month. Obviously, the expenses is zero just because we haven't put anything in there. So, and I'm going to take you guys and show you guys how I keep track of my expenses. So at the end of the month, when you figure out your expenses, that's when you're going to enter that in. I usually have a mock number put in my expenses of a general idea of what my expenses are every month, just so I could kind of keep track of what my net profit and my profit margin looks like every month. So let's just say off of these number, so far this mock-up number is $1,350. Let's say our expenses were $500, and it's automatically formulated, so our net profit there would be $850, profit margin of $62 or 62.96%. Ministry, which is the 10%, is $85 of that. And then down here I also have just another mock-up equation of basically my hours, my income, and then what my average dollar per hour that I make, and then also that from my employee. So there's the income. Very important, kind of a simple, down to the nitty-gritty, formula here on Google Sheets. Pretty simple to do that. And then jumping over to my expenses. Now this is looking at some more actual numbers, but basically this is how I do my expenses. So I just keep a running sheet of everything that I've ever spent money on in that month. So this month here is for August. Not exact numbers here, obviously just marked up or made up numbers just for the sake of this video, but you guys can kind of get the idea of what is going on here. So anything here, if you're spending something on gas, you put it here. Payroll fees, payroll taxes, payroll cost, insurance, health insurance, payroll fees, website fees, you got insurance fees, things like that. I mean, that's where most of your stuff goes when you have employees, is obviously goes into payroll. But other than that, and then you're going to want to go ahead and tally those up over here on the right-hand side, and this is where you're going to be getting your totals, right? So this is just a total of everything over here. So obviously your payroll would be a total of every individual payroll that you paid out through that month. And that comes over here. And say for this instance, not actual numbers, say we have $10,807.78 per month. So that you would take that number and enter it down here on your income statement. And obviously we would be super negative because we don't have $10,000 in the income bracket here, but this is all just mocked up for the equation and for this personally. And then once you have that, I love to take this expense platform and put it onto paper. So I have a printed out sheet of paper just like this that will basically have all of the same expenses that were found on the online Excel spreadsheet. And basically at the bottom there you have income, expense, and net profit. So I love to do this just because that way I have it on paper and I also have it online. Basically the same thing kind of transferred over, and it kind of also gives you another step to actually recheck your numbers. Sometimes when you're entering numbers on here, you'll find a miscalculation or something like that. Another reason why I also like to have it on paper here, this is what your tax preparer likes to see, this exact page. This is the expenses, cost of goods sold. It doesn't really have anything to do with the income, but I put the income there at the bottom because I have everything detailed very in-depthly over here on this income sheet in here, and this is all just built out with formulas. And if you guys are interested at all in learning how I build these formulas and exactly how I keep track of these more in depth, I do have a course over at handymanjourney.com, my pricing as well as tracking course there. And as you can see on the bottom here, it has, you know, employees, total hours, my total hours, and the total income, and then it transfers over here like we talked about before. So that is just a little bit of how I track my income and my expenses every month. There really isn't much to it, but it is a very important step to do, because if you don't know your numbers, you're not possibly going to be able to figure out what your hourly rate needs to be. In that course I talked about before, I go very in depth in how to figure out what your hourly rate needs to be as a handyman, and these calculations go into that very closely, because you have to have these in order to plug into the calculation to figure out what your hourly rate needs to be. So these are good numbers at the end of the month to figure out what your net profit is, what your profit margin is, and then to relate that back to what your hourly rate should be, and how much profit your handyman business needs to survive, and how much money your business needs to survive. So by doing this simple equation, you are basically running an account on your business every single month to make sure that you are still in the good in your handyman business and not losing money. So some people, they just operate out of a bank account, and they're like, if there's money in the bank account at the end of the month, then we're good to go. But I personally like to see the numbers, because at the end of the day, numbers and mathematics do not lie if they are done correctly. And that's also why I like doing it two different ways, because I can kind of tell if I'm doing things incorrectly or not. So anyways, that is how I keep track of all my income and my expenses. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe to this channel, and leave me a comment in the comment section below with how you keep track of your income and expenses. And also, if you learned something in this video, leave it in the comment section below, because someone else I'm sure will be glad to hear it. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next video. Have a great day.